Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 210, Times and Seasons of the Restoration, Part 1. The podcast objectives are reveal the most important thing concerning the errors we have inherited, revisit the 7 guidelines for understanding the word of prophecy, reveal the timing of the restoration of the nation of Israel, and reveal the source of every event in our physical world. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. The path that has chosen you. Now that we have completed a high-level analysis of the 7 seasons in these last days, we are now prepared to begin executing a series of deep dives into each season. In doing so, I will not only provide insight to the specific happenings in each season, I will also analyze key misconceptions concerning the times we have seen and the times we are about to see. Here is why this is important. The primary reason why many who have been called will not survive these last days is because they have misinterpreted the times and seasons we are living in. As crucial as this downfall is, you must appreciate how no one in their right mind will misinterpret the end times on purpose. As I said before, this is one of the most complex spiritual topics. Here again, this is why Elohim has raised up messengers and prophets, men and women he has given the understanding of the prophetic word to share with his people. And this is what we are set to do. In the process, it is very likely that we will reveal spiritual matters that contradict your current understanding of the end times. I would go as far as to say it is inevitable due to the surplus scriptural error within the religious circuit. Don't allow this to discourage you, and don't let the enemy get you down. For the word of truth reveals that we would inherit errors. My dear friends, we were destined to inherit lies. It was unavoidable, a fate we could never escape. Be that as it may, our inheritance of errors and lies is not the most important thing. Quite the contrary. What matters most is how we respond to the errors we have received. It is what we do with the lies that are fatally blinding our eyes. Here you will find yourself at another fork in the road. 'Tis a path where you can choose to hold on to the errors and lies you have inherited, or you can choose to throw them away. In favor of the truth, the Father desires to reveal unto you, for you cannot hold on to both. Very needless to say, only one of these paths leads to everlasting life. And you are here because it is not only the path you have chosen, my dear friends, it is the path that has chosen you. Check all the boxes. Now, very needless to say, the detailed analysis of these last days must begin with the restoration of the nation of Israel, for it is the first of the 7 seasons in these last days. Per the timeline below, this season represents the first indicator that we are indeed in these last days. To wit, the Father is turning his attention back to his chosen people. Remember, the nation of Israel is at the center of the prophetic universe. This is why we have prior revealed that the purpose of this season, i.e., the restoration of the nation, is to initiate these last days. Now, if you recall, purpose is the first of the 7 guidelines for understanding the prophetic word. These are the 7 most critical building blocks which, A, provide a high-level view of the prophetic event, and B, confirms a word of prophecy is indeed true. For your edification, I will restate those 7 guidelines. 1, purpose, why it will happen. 2, time, when it will happen. 3, season, a sign confirming the time. 4, messenger, one who has been delegated to prophesy what will happen. 5, sequence, how it will happen, i.e., the order of the events within the prophecy. 6, people, who the prophecy will happen to. And 7, place, where the prophecy will happen. In the order of proving the restoration of the nation of Israel is indeed the first season in these last days, I will fulfill the remaining 6 guidelines of this word of prophecy. I will check all the boxes. The timing of the restoration. Here again, we've already established the purpose of the restoration of the nation of Israel. That is, to initiate these last days. Therefore, we must now address the second guideline, that is, the time. That is to ask, when did the restoration of the nation of Israel begin? Now, in beginning to answer this question, we must first realize that this event has already ended. Per the timeline below, we are in season 2 of these last days. The sealing of the set-apart ones is transpiring as we speak. As for the restoration of the nation, we can come to know the timing of its commencement by considering a familiar passage in Hosea. Hosea 6:1-3 reveals, "Come and let us turn back to Yahuwah, for he has torn, but he does heal us. He has stricken, but he binds us up. After 2 days, he shall revive us. On the 3rd day, he shall raise us up, so that we live before him. So let us know, let us pursue to know Yahuwah. His going forth is as certain as the morning, and he comes to us like the rain, like the latter rain watering the earth." No doubt there are many key phrases in this passage. Yet, as it pertains to the timing of the restoration of the nation, there are 2 in particular that we should further analyze. First of all, Hosea is revealing, after 2 days, he shall revive us. This line has clear time implications. The question is, what does Hosea mean when he references 2 days? If you were with us during the 100 level courses, you already know. Vis-a-vis, 2 days equals 2,000 years. For the word of truth reveals that one day with Elohim is equal to 1,000 years. See Psalm 94 and 2 Peter 3:8. Therefore, if one day is equal to 1,000 years, then 2 days must equal 2,000 years. It's simple mathematics. A small child could do it. The next question we must ask is sure. What is the starting point of this word of prophecy? The answer, the spiritual death of the nation of Israel. For Hosea reveals, he shall revive us. Now, to revive suggests something or someone was dead. Not only this, but revival is central to restoration. This truism connects the prophecy offered by Hosea to the first season in these last days. That being said, the question of the hour is, when did the nation of Israel experience spiritual death? The answer, when they crucified the Savior, nailing our loving master to a tree. For every action, there is reaction. Obviously, there are scriptures that support this premise. And yet, the most powerful case to be made represents a fundamental principle of scriptural theology. Consider this. Every event that transpires within our physical world, i.e., the physical sphere of existence, has a spiritual origin. Vis-a-vis, it is the inevitable aftermath of some happening within the spiritual sphere. This reality is illustrated perfectly in 1 Kings 22. I advise you all to take a few minutes to read this chapter thoroughly and consider the following summary of this crucial passage. Long story short, Elohim had determined it was time for King Ahab to die. For that reason, he called the host of the heavens and asked, who shall entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? Here we find Yahuwah had not only determined that Ahab was going to die, he had also determined the place. Indeed, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. What happens next is fascinating. In awesome fashion, various spirits begin making suggestions to Elohim as to how they would go about convincing Ahab to go to Ramoth Gilead to his death. Most fascinating. Now, the thing to remember is this. This conversation is taking place within the spiritual sphere. Elohim, who is a spirit, is conversing with other spirits within the spirit realm concerning an event he desires to see in the physical world. In the end, a lying spirit came forward and stood before Elohim saying, let me entice him. And Elohim asked, in what way? And he said, I shall be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And Elohim said, entice him and also prevail. Go out and do so. From that episode within the spiritual sphere, 400 prophets came to King Ahab, and they all lied to him, saying, go up, for Yahuwah does give it, i.e., Ramoth Gilead, into the hand of the sovereign. My dear friends, we see the lying spirit at work. He is doing exactly as he told Elohim he would do. He is operating through the mouths of 400 lying prophets who are being used to orchestrate Ahab's demise. Despite the fact that a true prophet of Elohim, Micaiah, is brought forth, and he tells King Ahab exactly what is happening and why it is happening, the lying spirit prevails as Elohim said he would. King Ahab hearkened to the voice of the lying spirit through the mouths of 400 false prophets, and he went out to battle at Ramoth Gilead, and at Ramoth Gilead he died. I said all of that to prove my original point. That is, for every action in the spiritual sphere, there is reaction within the physical world. This principle supports my former premise vis-a-vis the nation of Israel experienced spiritual death when they crucified the Savior. And I will further analyze this premise in the next podcast as I continue to reveal the timing around the restoration of the nation of Israel. Now, here is the final word. The restoration of the nation of Israel is the first sign that we are indeed in these last days. This speaks to a crucial reality vis-a-vis the restoration of the nation of Israel has already ended. Israel has been revived. We have been restored. It is the only season in these last days which we are considering from a historical perspective. And yet, we must consider it such that you may increase your faith in the season we have just come out of, such that you may lay a firm foundation for succeeding the season we are currently in. This, my friends, is a key endeavor and one of life's most crucial tests, for we cannot succeed the constraints upon us, and we are all servants to cause and effect. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 210, Times and Seasons of the Restoration, Part 1. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 212, Times and Seasons of the Restoration, Part 2. I will post this podcast on Monday, August 28, 2023. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim, continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.